Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. We are here in Siena at the Santa Chiara Lab that is hosting us for this event. The Santa Chiara Lab is something within the University of Siena that is the entity that is more related with enterprises and local authorities. So it seemed to us the perfect place to run this event. And the event will start in a few seconds with a video that we have realized just for the launch of the website that we are presenting today. If you can start with a presentation, please.
I'm energy for growing. I'm energy for working. I'm energy for having fun. I'm energy for getting around.
There has always been a dialogue between the sea and humans, and we have listened to the opinions of more than 2,000 people who live of the sea and by the sea to find out what they think about the development of blue energy in 9 locations around the Mediterranean basin.
I'm energy for new energy.
To find out the results of the survey, go to bluedealmed.eu/survey or ask your citizen on be.unici.it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This was the appetizer of our presentation of today, and we start now with a first of introduction from myself of what Blue Deal is and what is the aim of this event, of this website. Then my colleague, Professor Betty, will present the results in a more in depth, and then we will have a roundtable and some questions, I guess. So if we can go back to the presentation. Presentation, please. Okay. Okay. Blue Deal is a project within the InterregMed program and is made of 12 partners that are listed here and mapped here. And basically, the Blue Deal is a set of things that together compose a mosaic. And the mosaic started with the labs. The labs were intended for understanding where is applicable a certain type of blue energy. What are the limitations, the environmental and legislative limitations of these blue energies, and to understand the also what is the policy of the area we analyzed. And then there are other things that one wanted to include on one side the enterprises, the open innovation part, for example, and the new generations, the school contest that we are running in this period, in which the schools are called in order to find new solutions or new way of communicating blue energies. And the Blue Deal alliances, in which the public and the private sector, together with the citizens, should find a common playground to try and include blue energies in the future planning of areas. And the inclusion of citizens is the point that made us start this survey that we are talking about. The survey was intended to be something that makes a 0 point in the knowledge of population about blue energies and their attitude about blue energies. Because the rationale behind this study also is that if we want to be sustainable in the future, if you want to make a transition, first of all, we have to include the sea in this challenge. These overall seas and oceans are covered 70% or more of the Earth's surface. And so we cannot afford to leave oceans and seas out of our quest for carbon neutrality. On the other side, the involvement of citizens has to start from the very beginning, from before we install blue energy solutions, because we cannot have the same resistance that we are facing very often in population against renewable energies, because population perceives the installation of these devices as an invasion of their space somehow. So they have to be involved from the very beginning. They have to be part of the dialogue, and they have to be even part of the property of the devices that use blue energy. So we wanted to understand what population knows and what population wants from blue energy. So we conducted this survey in 9 locations. We had more than 2,000 people answering our questionnaire. 5 technologies were presented to them, and the survey was conducted everywhere with the same questionnaire in the same way, so that results could be compared with each other. And these were the locations. You see them mapped and listed. And the questions that we asked were on basically 3 thematics: the social and demographic metrics, just to categorize the respondents, the knowledge of the citizens about climate change, for example, and renewable marine technologies, and other environmental issues, and their willingness to have close to them some technologies to harness blue energies. So just to make it very very brief, because then Professor Betti will go through the results more in depth, as I said. An average of 60% of the people we interviewed knew about or believed in climate change. The results is quite low, and it is very scattered. It's not regular. It's spread in very different ways in the different locations. Knowledge about blue energy is quite low. It's less than half average. And the support of technologies, after they were explained, after they had seen pictures of them, the answers were really, instead, were really positive, because especially wave-based energies were, almost 3/4 of the respondents were in favor of these ones. So we are now launching this website. If you can click, and here you see the website with different features. Some of these things you have already seen. This is just the presentation, and these are the results I showed, the locations, and you can, if you can go up, at the top, you can see that there is also, there are the survey, how we conducted it, the aggregated data, and then all the aggregated data divided by sex, work, age, etc., and the data for location. For each location, we have the results. You can, and you can see the results per each location. For example, here you can see climate change 92%, where before it was only 60. So there must be some places where it's below 50. So we can go with the next slide, please. I will give the floor for this to my friend, Gianni Betti. Gianni Betti is a professor in statistics. He's very well known around the world, I have to say. He's a consultant for Eurostat and OECD Stat. So he's a very competent person. That's why we asked him to to join us in this effort, since it is the first one in this field, I think.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you, Simone. Thank you very much. It's really an honor to me here today. And I really want to briefly present this assessment of the perception of disaster. A sample survey on the perception and attitude towards BE, blue technologies. I think this is better, okay? And it has been conducted via questionnaires and interviews on individuals and families. Well, I have to say that the fieldwork was conducted during the pandemic period. So we wanted to complete all the surveys in summer to 2020, but for some cases it was not possible. So the last surveys ended just before summer 2021. Next, please, Simone. Well, as said by Simone, this is really the first harmonized survey in a multi-country context in the field of blue energies, for which we have prepared a well-defined step-by-step procedure. So here you can see the most important steps. So we prepared guidelines for each partner, for each country, for conducting the survey. We prepared a common blueprint questionnaire in English, which after was translated into local languages. Then it is important the collection of the frames from which we have drawn the samples, and also the description of the sample selection and how to conduct the survey fieldworks in each one of the sites. And of course, most important, the construction of a common database or data warehouse that is possible to see in the website that Simone has started to show a few minutes ago. Yes, next please. I think that an important added value is really this set of guidelines for conducting the survey. They were really very useful and really will be very useful for conducting new surveys in the future. So this should be really a best practice for repeating this kind of an exercise in other islands, in other coastal areas, hopefully in many other countries in the Med area. So this is important. These guidelines mainly cover three aspects. First of all, suggestions on the identification of sites where to conduct those sample surveys. Next, something which is really technical, but is fundamental in order to get results which are unbiased. So from a statistical point of view, scientific results, because often in this kind of in this kind of research, what is missing is really a statistical and scientific approach. And I really believe that these set of surveys had very high standards, high level methodologies from this point of view. The selection of the so-called gross sample, so the set of interviews, set of individuals and families to be interviewed, and also in general how to implement the fieldwork. Yeah. Next. Now I want to show you some examples of how we have implemented in a special case the Isola del Giglio. So in fact, without giving too many details, a general suggestion was to identify an area, so an island or a coastal area, with a population between 1,500 and 15,000 inhabitants. So this could be an island or a part of it, or a specific part of a city, and so on. And the example of the Giglio Island is perfect because it has about 1,400 inhabitants, so a bit less than 1,400. So we have used the entire island, the entire area for our gross sample. Please, next. And I want to go quite quick in those slides. I want to show you how the addresses, so the houses were extracted, were drawn with stratified systematic sampling. What does it mean, stratified, and then a systematic sampling? I show you the example on Giglio Island, Simone, where we have divided the island in strata, in homogeneous parts. Here are some rural and some urban. And then within each stratum, in the next, so this area, we have chosen some paths where the interviewers with systematic sampling, so it means one address every 10 or every 20 or every 30, according to, of course, the size and the number of houses or individuals to be interviewed, have chosen the addresses. So in order to avoid the need to have a very precise lists or other information that in some countries may not exist, you know, so especially in the south part of the Med area. So let's go next. Okay, now I don't want to take too much time, but I think it is very interesting to show some results for each one of the 9 sites, 9 locations. And here the list is in alphabetical order and not in geographical or other orders, other rankings. So the first we have Chovo Island in Croatia, where we can say that there are citizens have shown high knowledge about blue energies. So 59% is above the average that Simone said before, that it was less than 50%. And about climate change, 57% of citizens are aware of it. On the other side, if we go to Civitavecchia, we have the opposite situation. So a lower knowledge of blue energy, look at it's 20%, but on the other side, high awareness of climate change. So you see, people, the perception of people in different areas of the Med may have quite different perceptions. And this information is very, very useful for the policymakers, for the local administrators, because if they want to implement something new about blue energies, of course they have to pass through the approval of their citizens, and they should know the perception that the citizens have. So it is really a fundamental role that these kind of surveys have for these 9 locations and may have for many and many other locations in the metro area. If you go next, so we have Durrës in Albania. Here we can observe low support for technologies and also low awareness of climate change. So our friend and colleagues in Albania should work more, in order to explain, in order to make some campaign of awareness on their citizens from this point of view. Next, we have Isola del Giglio, so we have the major online. So, we have observed support, but only for less intrusive technologies. So this is important to explain what is the level of intrusiveness of different technologies, because some of those citizens may not be aware of how intrusive technology is or not. But on the other side, high awareness of climate change. So this is important. So what more? Next, we go to Crete in Greece, Chersonissos. Here, the situation seems to be better in terms of awareness of the citizens, high knowledge of blue energy, and very high hopefulness about blue energies. So there is this big hope that these new technologies, you can see the percentages are all around 90% for all of 5 technologies. So what more? Next is in Malta. So Kalkara and Chaira. We have from one side high support for technologies. All of them are above 70%, more or less. But on the other side, there is again a low awareness of climate change. And then Cyprus in Larnaca, again high support for technologies. In particular, 3 of them, about 2/3 of the citizens. 2/3 of the citizens are supporting them, while there is medium support for other aspects. And then, last but not least, the two sites, the 2 places in Spain. They are last only because alphabetical order. I say to our friends in Valencia and Sabrolenia. And the first is Pobla de Farnals in the area of Valencia, where they have a low knowledge of blue energy, but on the other side, very high hopefulness about blue energy, and that is quite important. And finally, Salobreña. Here we have 2 positive aspects, so both a high knowledge of blue energy and very high hopefulness about BE. So, of course, the time was short to present everything. I really suggest you to go in the site to see one by one the results in the 9 sites, and I really hope that there will be the possibility to perform other surveys probably in the coming spring or summer, because the added value of this kind of sample surveys could make a clue in this world of blue energy. So thank you very much, and I give again the word to Simone for presenting.
Yeah, what's next? Thanks, Gianni. And yeah, what's next now? As Gianni said, we have shown what we have done up to now within the Blue Deal project. What Gianni was saying about the possibility of doing other things in other places, I mean, the same thing in other places, is an important aspect of this project, because we made it to be replicated. So wherever there is someone that wants to do the same, we look forward to filling more and more the map that we showed at the beginning with the sites where the questionnaires were given. So now we open the floor to the discussion, and I give the floor to
we lose the connection. Yes.
So did everyone lose the connection to Siena?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it my case? Yeah.
I'm afraid so.
Yes.
I can hear you, but not Siena.
I see you all and hear you all, but Simone is stopped. Let's see.
Oh, now they are gone.
Now.
Oh, it's me now.
I can see my colleague from Valencia, but I don't see her. I'm the mayor of La Pola de Fernals. Hello to all.
Nice to meet you.
Hola, Enrique.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hola.
Athens. The floor is yours.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I have the pleasure and the privilege to be the moderator of this roundtable that will start right now with distinguished speakers representing a broad spectrum of stakeholders and of the civil society. Let me first thank Professors Bastianoni and Betty for their introductory speeches, which were very, very enlightening and which are guiding us to this round table where we will have the opportunity to hear your views, and in that respect, to make our roundtable more interactive, I have organized groups of prominent speakers with targeted questions that I would like them to address. But before proceeding with the program, let me say that the selection of the term Blue Deal was a very successful one for this Interreg Med project, as it refers to a key component of the Green Deal, and therefore in terms of semantics, it is extremely important. Blue Deal reminds us, and blue energy, the blue pillar, the blue economy pillar, which is one of the three priorities of the European Union, together with the green growth and the digital economy under the umbrella of circular economy. And in that respect, blue energy becomes a key component of the blue economy, as blue energy can lead to addressing the climate change crisis, to boosting the energy transition, and to ensuring climate neutrality by 2050. As presented in this very interesting video, the sea is a huge source of energy, the blue energy, and it is very important that the 9 locations that were selected were very representative of the areas and the regions where the blue energy can be developed. What I would like to say is, and this has been addressed in the questionnaires, that tide energy, wave energy is extremely important. Offshore wind parks, we have other types of renewables generated throughout the sea resources. And of course, it is also very important to see how we can develop renewables and hybrid renewable projects together with storage, as the storage becomes a key priority in small non-inhabited islands and rocks that can be connected to the other inhabited islands and lead to their decarbonization, as decarbonization of the non-connected islands is also a key priority. A very important thing is also that if we combine awareness between climate change on the one hand and blue energy on the other, we increase the environmental and climate awareness of the population, and therefore we also create conditions of social acceptance. As social acceptance, it has been mentioned by Professor Betty, is extremely important to enable more penetration of the renewables, new technologies, and of course, blue energy. Without ado, I would like now to start the interactive part of our round table. The first group of distinguished speakers that have been identified are the mayors, and I would like to start with Mayor Sergio Ortelli, Madam Marina Kuzmanchik, who is consultant for environmental protection, sports and strategic planning of Okruch, Croatia. Sergio Ortelli is the mayor of Giglio Island in Italy. Manuel Magliani, who is the deputy mayor, councillor for the environment of Civitavecchia in Italy. And Palanca Torres, the mayor of Pobla de Farnals, Spain. And for this group of selected representatives of the local authorities, mayors and eminent representatives of local authorities, I have the following 4 questions. I will read the questions, and then the group and the people represented in this group can address them one by one. So the first question is, are the results obtained in line with what you were expecting? In other words, have your expectations been met? The second question is, what are your thoughts about the results obtained? Did you have any unexpected results? Are you happy with them? Have you been surprised by the results? Third question, why did you endorse this type of activity? And fourth question, would you be interested in applying blue energy technologies in your territory, in your municipalities, cities, and which could be the potential benefits from the application of blue energy technologies? So I would like to start. You can take the floor for 4-5 minutes. I would like to start with the first speaker, Mayor Sergio Ortelli. The floor is yours.
Grazie. Intanto buon pomeriggio a tutti e grazie per l'invito. Good afternoon to everybody and sorry if I speak Italian. Sorry.
It's perfect.
I will translate.
Allora, sì, in effetti i risultati del sondaggio sono per la nostra isola molto soddisfacenti. I cittadini gigliesi hanno risposto bene, direi con quella consapevolezza tipica di chi vive nelle isole, con i problemi delle isole minori e anche con i grandi disagi che ci troviamo di fronte e che ci troviamo a fronteggiare ogni giorno. Allora...
I have to translate, otherwise I forget everything.
Okay.
The mayor was saying that the results were what he was hoping from the inhabitants of Giglio Island, and in a sense what he was expecting, because living an island, in an island, a small island, is a difficult thing, so the awareness of certain thematics is higher, generally speaking.
Allora il 90% dei cittadini dell'isola ha risposto che dobbiamo intervenire per salvare il nostro pianeta da cambiamenti climatici. È un dato estremamente scontato, però non è scontato se lo stesso discorso lo facciamo anche per l'isola, che notoriamente è un ambiente particolarmente privilegiato, un ambiente sano, particolarmente bello. Il caso dell'isola è un caso particolare. Noi per produrre 8.000 megawattora all'anno dobbiamo importare 2.000 tonnellate di gasolio che vanno bruciate e purtroppo disperse nell'aria.
The awareness of the people of Giglio Island about climate change issues is very high, and this is very important because Giglio Island relies on for the electricity production, for example, in 2,000 tons, I think, of diesel to produce electricity locally. So every day there is a ship, going back and forth and carrying this diesel to the island.
Quindi abbiamo una forte necessità di abbattere le emissioni nella meravigliosa atmosfera isolana e quindi non ci dobbiamo fermare. E se i cittadini, appunto i cittadini, non solo quelli che hanno partecipato all'indagine, se i cittadini tutti sono con noi, tutto diventa molto più facile.
So there is this will of transforming the island that is already very beautiful in something even more beautiful with renewable energy. And if the sample of the citizen is representative of the citizen or all the citizens, it will be easy to make this transformation.
In generale i risultati del sondaggio sono in linea con quello che ci aspettiamo noi dell'amministrazione, un'amministrazione che conosce il proprio territorio, conosce i propri cittadini, che spesso sono stati coinvolti proprio nello sviluppo delle rinnovabili. Anche se il territorio, ripeto, è un territorio molto difficile, sovrapposto da una sequela di vincoli che spesso impediscono certe attività propositive. Nel caso delle Blue Energy ci sono progettualità innovative che possono favorire l'inserimento paesaggistico nel contesto della nostra piccola isola. Credo però che nel mare ci possono essere maggiori possibilità e minori problemi.
Renewable energy is something that in Giglio Island has been promoted, but it met very many obstacles from the legislative viewpoint. And so the hopefulness is that the sea, in this sense, is easier than even the low amount of land that they have available for these purposes.
Il nostro sostegno a questo tipo di attività deriva dal fatto che la nostra amministrazione governa due isole, due territori che hanno a che fare col mare. E il mare è la nostra risorsa principale, soprattutto laddove si pensa alla forza delle onde del mare quando le condizioni del mare sono proibitive, oppure alle correnti sottomarine, che costituiscono anch'esse una grande energia per mantenere pulito tutto il nostro mare, tutto il nostro fondale marino.
There is this general awareness of the fact that in an island, in two islands, as he is the mayor of the two close islands, there is this awareness of the fact that the power of the sea is really something very important for the waves, especially when they are high and powerful, and for the currents also. They know very well, but they make very much cleaner the sea where they live.
Noi abbiamo sostenuto queste attività perché, anche se sappiamo che il lavoro da fare è molto impegnativo, soprattutto perché siamo una piccola isola, e dobbiamo però muoverci in questa direzione, perché oggi chi rimane senza agire è perduto, chi si ferma è perduto, e noi non possiamo perdere questa grande opportunità.
They were part from the very beginning of this effort of our project, because they believe very strongly in this kind of development, and especially in this moment, nobody can afford to remain as it is. We have to transform very quickly, otherwise we are lost.
L'ultima domanda riguarda appunto qual è l'interesse di applicare la Blue Energy nel mio territorio. Guardando l'isola, nella sua applicazione pratica, io ho sempre in mente la realtà portuale, la messa in sicurezza della realtà portuale, del suo specchio d'acqua, e quindi riuscire a contemperare sia l'operazione di messa in sicurezza con l'operazione di sviluppo delle energie che arrivano dal mare. L'applicazione, quindi concludo anche l'intervento sulla quinta domanda, potrebbe essere un intervento sul molo principale dell'isola. Questo è l'intervento più grosso, diciamo più importante, ce ne sono altri di cui non posso chiaramente addentrarmi nel dettaglio. Quindi intervento sul molo principale dell'isola per allineare i due obiettivi che ho detto poco fa, quindi promuovere lo sfruttamento delle Blue Energy per alimentare il sistema di illuminazione portuale, ad esempio, ma allo stesso tempo creare una barriera, cioè una barriera che farà da cuscinetto alle onde del mare che spesso mettono in difficoltà le barche del porto. Quindi è un'idea questa, è un'idea tra tante altre che abbiamo appunto valutato anche con l'Università di Siena, con il professor Bastianoni e il professor Betti, che io ringrazio chiaramente e che ringrazio anche per l'invito a questo simposio che è estremamente molto interessante. È un'idea, dicevo, che fa parte delle nostre aspettative di innovazione, che possono essere ben calate nella realtà dell'isola, che in questo caso si presta per un'iniziativa di questo genere. Grazie e buon pomeriggio a tutti.
The last part was dedicated to the possibility of realization in Giglio Island of something related to blue energies. And the mayor's main focus is in the port, because they have to restore the port and to make it a bit different. And they would like to use this opportunity to install also some devices for catching the wave energy inside the port. So this is the main objective, the closer one, because they have already started thinking of this renovation of the port. And then a salutation to everybody.
I would like to thank Sindaco Ortelli for his presentation. Indeed, blue energy is very important for the small islands with the view to decarbonizing them, as your island uses conventional fuels that have to be phased out progressively. And of course, as you correctly pointed out, blue energy projects are easier to develop than projects on the mainland, on the territory of the island, where problems of permitting, of bureaucratic procedures sometimes, and of social acceptance arise. But it is also important to create a new administrative culture and environment to develop and support blue energy. And I have taken note also of your idea to develop this in ports. Indeed, blue energy in the ports can be useful for the lighting of the port, but also for providing energy to the marinas and to the boats that are there. And in that respect, these are projects and technologies that have already been applied that can be very, very useful. I am now moving, thank you very much once again, I am now moving to the next speaker, Ms. Marina Kuzmanchik, who is invited to address the 4 questions that have been presented at the beginning of this group of speakers. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be today on this event. This question of blue energy is really close to me because I'm a marine biologist and ecologist. So the issue is quite familiar with me, and I'm leaning towards new sustainable energies in all kinds of, let's say, citizens' life. Regarding this survey, we are quite pleased with the percent of the citizens that are familiar with the blue energy and the climate issues, which is quite good for us regarding planning our future projects related to the island of Chiovo. I have to say, island of Chiovo is territory of 2 towns, Split and Trogir, and municipality of Okrug. I'm representative of the municipality of Okrug. And the island per se is quite interesting because although it's a territory of 2 towns, 2 cities and 1 municipality, it also has 2 bridges. It's quite close to the land. It's the only island in Croatia that has 2 bridges, and it's quite touristic locations. So regarding tourism, it's very important to implement this kind of technology. I will tell you later why. For the survey and the percentage of the citizens, we are quite pleased that most of them are introduced to this technology. But what is maybe a big problem is the 40% of others, they didn't know what this is about, and maybe we should issue more towards them through some channels of education, simple kind of education that will be the way to introduce them the green development plans and blue energy technologies, so they can see the benefit of implementing this kind of technology. Regarding touristic part of the island and this technology, it's maybe in the future it will solve a big problem. During the summer, the island has a power grid problem because there is much more users of the energy than the power grid can supply. So we have a shortage of energy. Not only the power energy, we also have the water shortage. So we are issuing that problem now, and we are trying to see, find some kind of solution, because although now it's a COVID situation, but normally during the summer we have more than 90,000 tourists, so it's quite a lot, and we can't provide enough water and power for that kind of people. So many people at the same time on the island. Regarding future projects, we are hoping that investors that are planning some new marinas and hotels that are willing to apply green development plans and implement some of the blue energy technologies in their future projects, which would be very hopeful for the power grid problems and water supplying problem. Also, we have a few projects regarding small sports and nautical marinas. Maybe in the future it would be nice to sit and talk with investors again for them to apply this kind of technologies. I'm new on this position, and I already talked about new projects, more green plans, and we as a community are trying to go in that way. So hopefully we will gain some positive results in the future. So thank you very much for inviting me, and have a good afternoon.
Well, I would like to thank you very much, Ms. Kuzmanic, for your presentation. Indeed, during the summer period, we have on all our islands more energy needs, and as the challenge now is to use green energy, renewables, blue energy can become a source to improve the energy mix of the islands and to address the problems that we have in particular during the summer period. I wanted to add that as you also have water shortage problems, desalination can become extremely important for the islands, provided the energy source for the desalination is sourced from renewables. And in that respect, a perfect match combination can be blue energy with desalination plants, using also new technologies to address the residue, namely zero brine technologies. So thank you very much for your presentation. I would like now to move to the next speaker, Deputy Mayor Manuel Magliani, and kindly ask him, I hope he's with us. If Mr. Magliani is not with us, I will move to the next speaker, to the mayor of Pobla de Farnals, Mr. Palanca Torres. The floor is yours to address the questions that we have, the 4 questions that we have asked to the others. Please.
Greetings and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I will be very short, resuming all the 4 questions. I am very surprised because the results of my town represent a typical town that a lot of people come from other side, the inner side of the Spain, and they don't know much about those projects. So I don't care about the methodology, but I suspect that maybe don't count only the people who live in the town all the year, and maybe much of the people that answered those questions were not from La Pobla de Farnals. But nonetheless, I don't care. I think it's a good opportunity for the towns that they are constructed near of the beach and not in an island to be a door to those projects from the European Union, because I'm agree that the islands need to be auto-sustainable. So the priority is clear, but don't forget that those results of that you showed before, a lot of citizens from the UA that they don't know nothing about Blue Line or another European projects. So let's take that chance to make those towns like La Pobla de Farnals to be an embassy of those projects of the UA. Don't forget that, because the results represent that state of knowledge. So to me, it's a good place to speak about. But I must apologize myself because I don't have no much time. I have another date already. So I hope it will be very profit for you all. Thank you and nice afternoon.
Thank you very much for being with us. It is true that islands need to be auto-sustainable, and of course they have to create social awareness conditions and to make their citizens as well as the tourists understand that this is the big challenge of the future, to develop climate resilience, to boost renewables, and of course to exploit the sea resources. And in that respect, blue energy is instrumental for the islands. Thank you for being with us. Good luck to your endeavors. I would like now, as we have completed the discussion with the first group of speakers, to move to the second group, where we have two mayors of small islands. We have the mayor of the Greek island of Chalki, an island which is also part of the Hellenic Small Islands Network in Greece. And we also have Gian Piera Uzai, from the National Association of Minor Islands Municipalities in Italy. The questions I would like to address to these two gentlemen are the following three. In your opinion, is this a relevant activity, relevant for your islands, for your citizens? Second, how can you apply and spread it? And third question, have you carried out or are you planning to carry out action in the initiatives in the direction of promoting the blue energy? I would like to start by giving the floor to Mr. Evangelos Frangakis, who would also like to share with us a good experience, an initiative that has started on the island of Chalki with the view to transforming Chalki into a green island. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kremlis. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for inviting the island of Chalki and myself to this very interesting online event with subject What About Blue Energy, which is organized by Dynamic Vision and the Inter-Mediterranean Project Blue Deal. The municipality of Chalki in October of 2020 officially submitted the clean energy transition agenda of Chalki Island and officially started its transition to clean energy with the support of the Secretariat of the European Commission clean energy for the EU islands. Our energy transition will not be possible without adapting our infrastructure to the needs of the future energy system. Energy, transport, and telecommunication infrastructure are increasingly interconnected. The fair transition of our energy system to clean, renewable energy sources and the transition to climate neutrality are the big bet of our municipality. The plan for our energy transition is the main pillar of our energy policies for the coming years and will serve as a roadmap for the long-term decarbonization strategy of the island of Halki. The transition of islands to renewable energy sources is a social issue. It requires the active participation of the inhabitants of the islands and the assistance of the local self-government organizations, mainly in administrative the organizational context. The island of Halki has the right conditions to turn to the production of green energy from renewable energy sources to meet the needs of the island's electricity, at the same time the decarbonization of maritime transport and road movements that scientifically reducing in environmental footprint. Reducing the climate footprint of human activity is a factor in tackle climate change with the objective set in the 2015 Paris Agreement of Climate Changes, the European Green Agreement, and Objective 13 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. In the modern social and economic environment, the promotion of green energy and smart solutions are factors in improving entrepreneurship and strengthening the tourist product, contributing to the achievement of energy efficiently and the fight against energy poverty. All of the above can be implemented in the framework of environmental, social, and corporate governance initiatives promoting economy development through the designation and energy transition of the islands. The aim is to highlight all clean energy applications and combine them with new cutting-edge technologies. The use of smart solutions for faster and more balanced operation of the electricity network offers quality and balancing of network needs in real time. Electrification, along with the creation of charging stations and the limitation of the heat engines from these spaces, efficiently contribute to reducing the climate footprint of the transport sector. The next generation of telecommunications, spearheading the development of the 5G network, high speed, zero response, delays, and the Internet of Things, is about to revolutionize the combination of smart energy's autonomous device and modernization of services receiving citizens of the island of Halki, providing in practice that progress in decentralized and comprehensive across the country. All of the above independently and combination cultivate a framework of energy democracy by making citizens active participate in energy production and consumption. Projects of this type are vital for the promotion of the Greek economy, both at the level of local communities and more broadly at the national and union framework by developing and improving the respective technologies. Our goal is the energy autonomy of the island of Halki through the production of green energy and the parallel saving in the cost of electricity for households, but also the municipality through the mobilization of residents. The vehicle that will help us achieve the above energy transition of our island is the energy community of Halki, Halki On. The Halki energy community, Halki On, is the first energy community of the Dodecanese which founded on May 19 of May 2021, based in Halki. Today, about 7 months later, the formal procedures have been completed. Approval of Article of Association, issuance of GME number, VAT number, and bank account, so that the energy community exceeds fully as a legal entity. It currently has 38 members, natural and legal persons, including the municipality of Halki, the athletic association, as well as number of local business of small and medium size and residents for our island. Our immediate goal is to move forward and integrate the whole of Halki society into our energy community. This was some words about Halki. You want to answer your question now, Ms. Kremlis?
Mayor Frangakis, I think that through your presentation, you have answered all my questions. Probably there is only one, how in greening further and in developing the full renewables autonomy of your island, you can take blue energy more on board, and what ideas do you have to develop more blue energy projects? But let me first say that I would like to praise you not only for your pioneering ideas and for making Halki a really green island in the context of the Clean Energy Islands Initiative of the European Commission, but I'm also very happy to see your image perfectly thanks to the 5G that you have now on the island of Halki. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Kremlis. Yes, as I mentioned above, blue energy technology is one of our main energy transition pillars. It is therefore understandable that the island of Halki can be an ideal geographical area for the production of electricity by utilizing wave energy. It is noteworthy to mention that exploratory contacts have already begun regarding the dynamic of sea waves in our area in order to further analyze them and the possible preparation of a study for the installation of a wave energy park, an ambitious goal for the municipality of Halki. Our municipality has been granted a fund from the European mechanism NESOI, which stands for New Energy Solutions Optimized for Islands, for the completions of all the preliminary studies that have to do with the blue energy technologies and more specific wave energy. How this technology can be part of our renewable energy source and how it can contribute to the decarbonization of our island. The special condition and the topography of the Aegean, and especially of our regions, contributes to the development of big waves. Utilization of sea wave energy enables the island that are not connected to the rest of the country to generate their electricity without dependence on oil. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Indeed, tide energy from the waves is extremely important, and we are really looking forward to see how your project will develop on the island. It is very important, especially for islands that are tourism destinations, to develop renewables in a way that they do not affect the cultural and the natural heritage of the island and the landscape Wind turbines, for example, have been problematic in some islands in Greece, in my country, because of landscape and cultural heritage considerations. Therefore, tide energy can be a solution, especially in parts of the islands and the coasts which are rocky, which are not, let's say, hotel areas or beach areas where tourists are moving there. And in that respect, once again, we would be very happy to be informed about the next steps, as this will be a key piece of the puzzle, in a puzzle where all the other pieces have already more or less been assembled, including on green lighting, electromobility, electric chargers, energy efficiency, etc., etc. Thank you very much. Without ado, I would like to move to the next speaker, Ms. Gianpiera Usai, from the National Association of Minor Islands Municipalities of Italy. The floor is yours.
Buonasera, parlerò in italiano, quindi il professor Bastianoni credo che avrà l'onere di tradurre. Vorrei partire per la mia riflessione da due verbi: conoscere per cambiare. Risponderò alle prime due domande in modo unitario e poi svilupperò la terza. Quindi conoscere. Il lavoro che è stato fatto e si sta facendo con questo progetto è sicuramente uno dei punti, una delle risposte al verbo conoscere. Conoscere il pensiero dei cittadini, che sono i principali fruitori di queste iniziative. Però secondo me è necessario anche conoscere il pensiero delle istituzioni locali, conoscere soprattutto il pensiero dei ministeri del livello centrale, perché in definitiva spesso è il livello centrale che orienta gli interventi da fare. Questa è una cosa che succede soprattutto in Italia, in cui la Blue Energy è un progetto a cui come ANCIM, come Associazione dei Comuni Isole Minori, ci siamo avvicinati di recente, perché da parte del governo centrale non viene preso molto in considerazione se non come studio problematico. Mi fermo qui o proseguo?
Sì, no, meglio. Okay, two verbs, to know and to change, is the start of the Dr. Usai's speech. The to know is very important, because otherwise we don't know how to change things. But and she was saying also that it's very, very important to know citizens' opinion, but I mean, at the same time, we have to know the local administration's opinion and feeling about this thematic, and especially the central government knowledge about these things, because she was saying that at least in Italy, they as association of the small islands, they are trying to push the government to deal with blue energy, but it's the government is quite reluctant to do so, and it gives more attention to the problems than to the solutions.
Sì. Continuo nel esplicare il verbo conoscere. Bisogna conoscere i territori in cui si agisce. Anche le isole minori non sono tutte uguali, ma hanno situazioni geologiche diverse, e quindi è importante per valutare cosa fare, cosa cambiare. Conoscere anche, come è stato detto da più persone, una cosa fondamentale: come i cambiamenti climatici stiano influenzando il nostro agire, le nostre situazioni geografiche e quindi quale può essere la soluzione. Quindi conoscere per agire e proseguire innanzitutto questa ricerca, professor Bastianoni, se posso permettermi, andando ad approfondire il pensiero e soprattutto a convincere il pensiero centrale della bontà di queste soluzioni, perché credo che i cittadini siano abbastanza convinti, tranne pochi, le statistiche vostre lo dimostrano, che sia un percorso obbligato. Poi le isole, quale miglior ambiente, visto che sono circondate dal mare, quindi quale miglior ambiente per sperimentare questa soluzione. Quindi direi che bisogna agire. Mi fermo.
Sì, meglio. The importance of the knowing, she was saying that is very, very important to pursue more these the ideas of our project Blue Deal, and try to convince the general government of the importance of blue energies, because in this case citizens are more advanced than governments in their feelings and their willingness to change. And I lost the point. I don't remember now. The islands. The islands are the perfect place where to test blue energies, because they all, especially small islands, they would all like to be energy independent and green.
Sui cambiamenti climatici è giusto il concetto da cui è partito il progetto di cui stiamo parlando, cioè che i cittadini per primi devono essere informati su quelle che sono le conseguenze dei cambiamenti climatici, ma credo che siano informati dalla stessa natura. Quest'anno per la prima volta nell'isola della Maddalena si è verificata una tromba marina, le acque torrenziali sono quotidiane. Quindi è un fenomeno che ha bisogno di trovare soluzioni e pensiamo che le soluzioni devono essere interventi di profilassi preventiva. Non ho alcun dubbio nell'indicare l'attivazione di risorse energetiche alternative a quelle attuali, proprio per mitigare e per porre rimedio a quello che sta succedendo, incentivando una situazione a emissioni di carbonio zero. Questo è l'obiettivo che ci ha dato l'Unione Europea nel regolamento che ha istituito il Fondo per la transizione giusta, in cui ci ha dato 2 termini temporali, il 2030 e il 2050. Quindi tutti dobbiamo orientarci in questo. Le piccole isole sono realtà circoscritte e quindi si prestano a essere luoghi di sperimentazione virtuosa e con effetti più generalizzati e più generalizzabili. Quindi ritorno al problema che ponevo prima, credo che il convincimento dei cittadini vada soprattutto rafforzato col convincimento centrale. Noi abbiamo... Mi fermo qui?
Sì, sì. The relevance of these problems for small islands is very much apparent for the fact that the citizens of small islands are facing the effects of climate change in a very dramatic and new way in this last year. In this summer, for the first time, in the Maddalena Island, there was a twister that hit the island and never happened before. And so these kind of problems is arising, and the islands are ready and the right place where to make this change happen.
Sì, in un libro recente al quale anche il professor Bastianoni ha ampiamente contribuito con i suoi collaboratori, che è intitolato Le isole minori tra sole, mare e vento, hanno fatto un'analisi di quelli che possono essere gli interventi alternativi all'attuale situazione energetica, proprio perché secondo l'ANCIM non ci si può solo basare sul sole, il fotovoltaico, che è sponsorizzato a livello centrale, perché la procedura è più snella. Noi riteniamo che le procedure amministrative, che sono un fattore frenante in tutte queste sperimentazioni, soprattutto sulla Blue Energy, vadano tutte semplificate, e abbiamo avanzato una proposta, cioè di fare una specie di master plan isola per isola, in cui ipotizziamo l'utilizzo delle fonti alternative, anche considerando la Blue Energy, che sicuramente è un fattore di grande rilevanza. Questo master plan dovrebbe superare tutte le autorizzazioni individuali che vengono attualmente fatte a livello nazionale, regionale e comunale. Quindi c'è bisogno di semplificare per poter raggiungere quegli obiettivi prefissati dall'Unione Europea. Abbiamo anche... Scusi.
Yeah. There is a report of the Italian group of the small islands that is called Islands Between Sun, Wind, and Sea, that shows that islands cannot just rely on solar energy. That was the government vision in this sense, but have to rely especially on marine energy. And there is the need of simplifying very much the procedures for the installation of the energy devices in the sea, because otherwise all the procedures coming from the government, from the regions, and from the local authorities are, too long and too many to be faced in normal ways.
Sì, come diffondere, vengo alla terza domanda, come diffondere queste informazioni che oggi ci stiamo scambiando. Abbiamo anche iniziato a attivare un gruppo di lavoro, in cui è compreso sempre l'Università di Siena, riguardante i cambiamenti climatici. I cambiamenti climatici, quindi valutando quello che succede in ogni isola e proponendo per ogni isola il rimedio per farvi fronte. Quindi credo che il modo più semplice per diffondere sia questo. E pensiamo di utilizzare al massimo quelle che sono, diciamo, le procedure, quelli che sono i risultati di questo lavoro che si sta illustrando.
Sì, c'è appunto questo lavoro in corso su un... sì. I'm sorry. There is this work going on on a white paper that is going to be prepared right now, and is trying to envision the future development and show what should be the procedure to reach the goal of having carbon neutral islands by 2050.
Concludo dicendo che quindi la conoscenza, anche attraverso questo lavoro, è sicuramente la base, il presupposto per poter cambiare. La volontà di cambiare è molto forte, non solo nei cittadini, ma anche nelle istituzioni locali, quindi dobbiamo cercare di superare, ecco perché in apertura dicevo che bisogna conoscere e soprattutto diffondere queste idee a livello centrale. Grazie.
there is the willingness to change in the citizens and in local authorities. At least in Italy, the highest hurdle is the central government that has to be convinced in order to make this change happen. And I add, why not now? I mean, perché non ora? This is the right moment to change in this sense. So it's going to be a lost opportunity if it's not happening now.
Well, I would like to thank very, very much Madam Gianpiera Usai for this very thorough presentation with very important messages that have been conveyed. Indeed, the islands are much more vulnerable to the climate change impacts. We need, at the level of the islands, not only to mitigate, but also to adapt and make our islands resilient, not only for their own inhabitants, but also for the tourists. And in that respect, improving the energy mix of renewables of the islands with the view to making them carbon neutral by introducing blue energy technologies and processes is becoming extremely important. I would like to address the issue as regards the central state. Indeed, the national energy and climate plans have now to be adopted as the Green Deal and the European Union climate law have been adopted, and as Fit for 55 and this package of measures to ensure climate neutrality is under discussion in the Council and in the European Parliament. It is very important in the context of the updating of the national energy and climate plans to foresee specific references to the islands and to blue energy. And in that respect, the association of minor islands that you are representing would have or should have a very strong say. I believe that Italy will also develop a climate law, as has happened in other countries, and probably this is an opportunity within the national climate law to have specific references to blue energy and to the islands and coastal areas with the view, once again, to making them more climate resilient. Thank you very much for your presence and intervention. I would like now to move to the third group of speakers. Here we have two distinguished speakers, Mr. Anibal Cutrona from Conisma and Blue Growth Project, and Ms. Caterina Pratico from the same organization. And for both of them, there is one single question. From the point of view of the horizontal project, how can we capitalize on this activity? Do you have any suggestions for the capitalization and integration of these results with other modular projects? Can this activity be integrated within the horizontal project's activities? The floor is yours, starting with Mr. Anibale Cutrona.
Good afternoon to everyone. And thank you very much for this invitation. We are always happy to participate in your events because before Maestrale and now Blue Deal are two projects with which we, horizontal project, have the productive interchange. And congratulations on the survey, which we think is very useful. About this, I would like to focus on the matter regarding the level of concern of the blue energy installation negative effects on noise, fauna and flora, visual impact, tourism and fishing. This survey showed that the inhabitants of Cyprus and Crete Island have shown great concern on all the possible aspects of the blue energy installation. Meanwhile, those from Salobreña, Malta, and Durex expressed their disappointment only on specific aspects. Most part have a neutral position on the negative effects of the blue energy installation. It is worth pointing out that the Iceland are the most concerned, probably because they have a different relationship with the sea, also from psychological point of view, compared to those who lived in the mainland. Therefore, the Icelanders see every new activity as a threat that could damage the resource with which they may identify. Also, there are economic stakeholders mainly operating in the field of tourism, fishing, and transport, who see the blue energy installation as a threat of their activity. Finally, there are the radical environmentalists who oppose any activity and often using this information to influence the public. All these elements affect directly and indirectly the authorization process, which involves a large number of public and private parties, and therefore considerably increased bureaucracy with very long approval times. This is the major handicap on the implementation of blue energy installation. I would like to provide you with some information on the Italian experience. Italy has committed to produce 70 gigabytes from renewable sources by 2030. At the moment, less than only 1 gigabyte is produced. Until now, have been submitted the project for approval to produce more than twice that 70 gigabyte. To approve a wind farm or photovoltaic park are needed 5 authorization steps. Environmental Impact Assessment, Minister of Environment, Regional Environmental Impact Assessment, Service Conference, a procedure that involves and coordinates all stakeholders in order to simplify authorization process, which, on the contrary, considerably increases authorization times. 4, authorization for the specific installation. 5, electrical workshop license. And then other 6 procedures are needed to connect the system to the distribution network. Time required about 6-7 years, being optimistic, because reasons often hamper the project that their citizens don't support. Only in Puglia, a region of South Italian, 396 small and large plants have been at a standstill for 8 years. In Lazio, 126 plants worth 2.2 billion euros have been stopped by the Minister of the Culture. It's clear that many of these steps are influenced by public acceptance, which is therefore essential to make the authorization process easier and faster. In my opinion, to achieve this goal, it's necessary to provide adequate training and correct information. It's necessary to raise awareness and create knowledge at any early stage in the education of young people. What Blue Deal did in the first phases in the Maestral project is to be commended. It's equally necessary to train highly qualified technicians. When I speak of high qualifications, I am mainly referring to a training process with a holistic approach that require training that is organized and coordinated in an interdisciplinary manner. This is based on the firm conviction that for an effective strategy for sustainable development, human capital is the main focus that ensure not only the success of specific projects, but above all their continuity and their evolution towards ever greater innovation. Therefore, we will be able to capitalize on the result of this survey by devoting a lot of attention to the training activities that we will implement in the framework of the horizontal project. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing with us your experience. Indeed, the administrative burden and the heavy bureaucratic procedures are very often a hurdle in developing renewable energy sources. And one, if we wanted to promote further blue energy, which is less known than the other traditional renewable energy sources, I refer to solar and wind, we need to create a new administrative framework which is more business-oriented, more investment friendly, and which also introduces fast-track procedures, as these are key priorities that we need to meet. And if we are to meet the targets set by the European Union, namely to reduce by 55% our emissions by 2030, which is a common endeavor, all these procedures which are boosting the energy transition and lead to carbon neutrality have to be supported not only in terms of incentives, but also in terms of administrative procedures that need to be streamlined. I would like now to move to the second speaker representing Conisma and the Blue Growth Projects, Caterina Pratico. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I will try to give the view of the horizontal project towards not only the single activity of the Blue Deal project, but also by underlying the fact that the Blue Deal project in the framework of our community is somehow, let's say, a special project, a project that is a pioneer in experiencing those activities that somehow are functional to the new trends. Not only in this case referring to the marine renewable energies, but in general. Why I say this? Because just focusing on the specific axis where our projects, so the horizontal project, the community, and the Blue Deal project are working, so the axis on innovation, we can say that the approach of the Blue Deal project is the approach that is somehow foreseen the approach of transformative innovation, which is the new trend. Where transformative innovation is including the social innovation and is including also the pillar, the element of inclusiveness, which is the change that is also included in the new smart specialization, the smart specialization strategy for sustainability, which include the element of inclusiveness. So the specific activity of this survey, by asking to the population of the territories where Blue Deal operates, which is the opinion, which is the knowledge, which is the feeling towards blue energy investments, is somehow pushing towards this new view of innovation policies. So congratulations to this project, which is a pioneer in this approach. This was a first consideration. I do this kind of consideration because we as horizontal project have the framework of the other projects, and we lead this community, which is a community where a lot of projects work on different sectors. We have a variety of sectors. Blue growth is composed of a variety of sectors that are so different among them, and sometimes it's hard to find a fil rouge that can be a point of comparison or dialogue among the members of the community. We make this effort, and the idea of having this kind of activities, like this awareness raising, awareness investigation, among others, is an idea of also exchange this kind of experience with the other modular projects. Sometimes, as my colleague Annibale told, it is hard to speak with the main stakeholders in the territories. We focus many times more on the policymakers and less to the population. And in this case, this activity demonstrated how important it is also to speak to the bottom for this dynamic of inclusiveness that is important in this kind of processes, of innovation processes. Of course, what we should do as community, where the Blue Deal is included, is to look at the new cycle of program Interreg, the Euromed program for sure, but also other programs, other European programs, where to apply this kind of approach. Of course, the new nature of the thematic projects of let's say the new communities help in this work, because the new communities are supposed also to adapt the results of the projects to the contexts where the results should be capitalized. And this helps a lot, because it's a plus in comparison to what the communities are doing now in this cycle of program. As a specific, more specifically, if you ask me which kind of integration we can do with our activities as a community, we can say that in the next months we have planned to have the second part of the training event dedicated to the methodologies of the Blue Deal labs. And in this context, in this new section of the training event, we must include the results of this activity, of the survey. And something that I wish, I strongly wish, is that we succeed in capitalize the result of the Blue Deal projects towards the so-called taker that as a community we are creating. We announce, it's still informal, but we announce that we are, as a community, we are creating with one of our partners, the University of Montenegro, the first national blue economy cluster in Montenegro, which is also the organization that is going to embed some of the main results coming from the community. In the next months, we will know more about this activity. We have few months for applying the best results coming from the community in Montenegro, and not only there, of course, but this is something that I can already announce as something that is coming next. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pratico, for your considerations and for your, let's say, optimistic proposals, not only as regards this project in Montenegro on the Blue Economy Cluster, but also on taking the opportunity of the new cycle Euromed to develop this idea. The only point I wanted to make is that, as you perfectly know, the Blue Economy pillar is an extremely broad one. It covers exploration of hydrocarbons, oil, gas, which belong to the past, ports, cables, LNGs, etc., but also blue energy. Therefore, I think we need to have a cherry-pick approach and select from the blue economy pillar the activities that will help us in promoting the energy transition and reaching carbon neutrality. This is our aim, and of course in making our islands carbon neutral and climate resilient. Therefore, I do believe that in the projects that you are developing and in the horizontal initiatives, there is room to be selective and to promote all these new ideas under the circular economy, the climate transition, and all these key priorities of the Green Deal and the climate law of the European Union to which you have referred. Thank you very much once again. I am now moving to the last group of prominent speakers that I will present to you one by one. Simone Christie from UN SDSN Mediterranean, Nikolaos Theodosiou from UN SDSN Blue Growth Initiative, Adriana Salazar from the Union for the Mediterranean, Céline Frank from DG Mare of the European Commission, and Curcio Cervelli from Interreg Med. We have here three questions, which are, I'm reading them, from your point of view, which conclusion can be drawn about this activity and its results? Second, will blue energy technologies be funded during the next programming period 2021-2027? Not only under the next programming period, but also under the Recovery and Resilience Plan, under the Just Transition Fund, which applies also to not only to phasing out from coal and lignite, but also to the carbon neutrality of the islands. And then last question, do you plan to support blue energy through policy documents and specific recommendations. I have one question only for Adriana Salazar from the Union for the Mediterranean, and I would like to start with her and ask her only this question. Do you plan to support blue energy through policy documents and specific recommendations? The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon, all, and thank you, Mr. Kremlis, for your timely, and relevant remarks throughout the moderation of today's session. Thank you also, of course, to Professors Bastianoni and Betty for sharing, the results of the survey. Very interesting results, and congratulations, of course, for the work conducted thus far. It's been a pleasure also to hear from my fellow speakers so far, and yeah, thank you very much for the invitation to take part in the context of Blue Deal in this discussion on the very important topic, which we know is a promising sector in the Mediterranean, which is the blue economy. It's also a pleasure to be with you, in fact, on behalf of Ms. Alessandra Sensi, who is Head of Sector for Environment and Blue Economy at the Union for the Mediterranean, who unfortunately was not able to join you today. So we thought that the most valuable way perhaps to contribute to today's discussion would be by very briefly presenting the UFM's framework, let's say, and approach as regards to blue energy, as well as how the UFM supports, as Mr. Kremlis was saying, blue energy through, in particular, policy recommendations and policy documents. So we will be focusing specifically on the third question, and thank you very much for your flexibility, because I think that what I will do, if I am able to, is just share a very brief presentation with you. So I hope you can see my screen. Okay, just moving on. Right, fantastic. So indeed, marine renewable energies in the Mediterranean region, as we all know, have been displaying an increasing trend in recent years. They should play an increasingly important role in contributing to mitigate the impacts of climate change in the region by 2050 and beyond, as well as in decarbonizing maritime transport and key value chains in greening ports, etc. In addition to creating a favorable environment for blue energy investments in the region and fostering transnational exchanges and alliances, from our point of view, Blue Deal will also play and is also playing a key role in offering us very interesting and valuable insights into the potential of marine renewable energies as a fast-growing sector in the Mediterranean in terms of technological development, employment opportunities, etc. And the notion that is also always interesting to the UFM, and which was highlighted by Professor Bastianoni, is the notion of replicability. So a notion that is always, of course, worth exploring. And in this context, of course, understanding citizens' perceptions on blue energy and blue energy technologies is a key precondition and part of the puzzle. And just to mention that I will try to be as brief as possible. So 2021 has been an exceptional year at the UFM with the strengthening and renewal of commitments by the countries of the UFM across a number of key areas. Namely, three important ministerial declarations relevant to today's topic have been adopted by the countries of the UFM. The UFM Ministerial on a Sustainable Blue Economy, adopted in February of this year, a first ministerial having taken place just a few years ago in 2015. The third UFM Ministerial on Energy, adopted in Lisbon in June, and the second Ministerial on Environment and Climate Change Action, adopted in Cairo just this past October. So if we just look at the UFM Ministerial on Energy to start with, as regards to blue energy, it's worth noting that UFM countries in this ministerial, of course, link to the Ministerial on the Sustainable Blue Economy. They acknowledge the need to continue to finance research and innovation in marine renewable energies. They envisage to promote investments in marine areas for the sustainable exploitation of offshore renewable energies and for the potential multi-use of those areas with other activities at sea, most notably citing nature protection and fisheries. UFM countries also, in the context of this ministerial, acknowledge the key role of workers, employees, and citizens in supporting the uptake and deployment of marine renewable solutions, informed always by research and stakeholder engagement. Looking very briefly, or citing very briefly, the Ministerial on Environment and Climate Change, it, of course, calls, as you can imagine, for a sustainable, just, resilient, inclusive, and safe clean energy transition with an intention by the countries of the UFM to accelerate the clean energy transition. And ministers highlight the willingness of UFM countries to mainstream environment and climate action in policies, national budgets, fiscal measures, and domestic and international finance and investments in all sectors, in particular energy, highlighting also fisheries, transport, and tourism as within the, let's say, BE sectors, blue economy sectors. Both the Blue Economy Ministerial and the Ministerial on Environment and Climate Change are very important, among other reasons, as they mark the agreement of the countries of the UFM to shift towards a green circular economy, including sustainable consumption and production and energy efficiency. So focusing just very briefly on the Ministerial on Blue Economy, it expands the number of joint priorities of the first Ministerial to 10. Here you see the 10 priorities, including, of course, a priority on marine renewable energies, within, of course, a wider green circular economy approach. It's also worth noting that for the first time, this ministerial also includes a priority on blue coastal and maritime tourism. And just very briefly, because I think it's worth highlighting, as regards to marine renewable energies, ministers in this declaration recognize that marine renewable energies can play a crucial role in meeting GHG reduction targets and in combating climate change. They recognize the potential of marine renewable energies for the sustainable development of coastal and island economies, and recognize also the need for closer regional cooperation. Ministers call for the cooperation on research and innovation for the development of MRE in the Mediterranean, including by combining different maritime activities in the same space, activities such as renewable energy, aquaculture, fisheries, bioresources, environmental conservation and restoration, maritime transport, tourism services, just to cite a few. Ministers also call for offshore operations to be carried out by taking safety precautions and considering environmental impacts. And an important point for us today, ministers in the context of this declaration call for the enhancement of relevant regulatory frameworks and the facilitation of a licensing process while preserving adequate assessments and public consultation prior to installing MRE infrastructure. Now, the roadmap for this second declaration is now under preparation, including a series of analyses on gaps and needs under each priority, including marine renewable energies, of course. It's important to mention that ongoing efforts to strengthen the sustainable blue economy in the Mediterranean region are, of course, undertaken in partnership with a number of key regional actors. I will not go into detail, but we can cite the clear links, of course, with the Barcelona Convention, which, as we know, has a protocol on offshore energy, with BlueMed, the upcoming EU mission for oceans and seas, etc. And it's also important to remember at this point that these ministerials are not at all static declarations. They provide joint recommendations by the countries of the UFM on future actions, but they are also very much directly fed by progress on the ground, meaning that work produced by and through projects such as Blue Deal directly feed this key aspect of the UFM's political framework. Here, I just wanted to very briefly cite or highlight the fact that the UFM coordinates 3 policy dialogue platforms under its energy dossier. I won't cite them in the interest of time, but I imagine that today's presentations will be shared. And almost in closing, and just shifting back to marine renewable energies for a moment, the UFM recently organized a webinar on marine renewable energies together with Emuni and with the support of GIZ, focusing on the potential of this sector in particular, as far as its job creation potential across the region. So many interesting and relevant recommendations emerged. Perhaps those that will be of most interest to us today are those regarding the challenges that the further development of marine renewable energies will have to overcome. So concerns, challenges which were highlighted and which we are all, I'm sure, very familiar with, range from concerns over long-term environmental impacts, such as, regarding habitat degradation, etc., to potential disturbances to human activities and increased collision risk, to aesthetic impacts and noise pollution. Among the tools and approaches highlighted during the webinar that we should continue to develop and/or finance to address common marine renewable energy related concerns, just to name a few, are the importance early on and at all stages of effective citizen participation, stakeholder engagement, and public communication. ecosystem-based marine spatial planning and integrated coastal zone management as tools to protect vulnerable habitats and species, manage waters and space more coherently and efficiently, avoid conflicts among sectors and users, facilitate decision-making and regional cooperation, and provide a better overall investment climate. It was highlighted that such approaches should be accompanied by effective enabling regulatory environments, by policy integration, and by strengthened cooperation at regional level, as well as through cross and inter-sectoral cooperation. It was also noted that future marine renewable energy development should also go hand in hand, of course, with advances in ensuring circularity in the marine renewable energy sector. And just very shortly, I just wanted to quickly touch, of course, on the potential of marine for marine renewable energies of maritime clusters in the Mediterranean region, which was also a point that was highlighted during our recent webinar. As we know, clusters encompassing marine renewable energy can be instrumental in better understanding and managing the needs and societal needs and expectations, fostering the exchange of experiences and best practices among different types of stakeholders, capitalizing on existing synergies, etc. And just finally, I'd just like to draw your attention to the Mediterranean Blue Economy Stakeholder Platform that is managed by the UFM. This platform serves really as a key regional networking platform supporting the development of the sustainable blue economy in the Mediterranean. I encourage you really to explore it, to register. It will enable you, to interact really with to join a blue economy community, to easily post and share content, to interact with relevant stakeholders, etc., which is something that I think should be of particular interest to us today. And just really in closing, I'd just like to bring to your attention also to a milestone report on advancing towards a sustainable blue economy in the Mediterranean region, recently published by the UFM, which you see highlighted here in July of this year with the support of GIZ, which gives really an overview of the state of the art of key blue economy sectors, including, of course, marine renewable energies. And I will share the links in the chat. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present. I may have to leave to attend another meeting shortly, but again, apologies, and again, thank you very much for your flexibility and for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Salazar. You have said everything. It was a very thorough presentation, and I was very happy to find out that there were strong links, synergies, and interaction between our Circle the Med 2021 second edition, in which you have participated, and all the work that is being carried out by UFM. And of course, we are looking forward to our future cooperation for Circle the Med next year, together with Interreg, our Interreg partners, which will take place in Egypt. Which will host also COP27, and we are planning to organize also some side events during the COP. And in that respect, we will be able to share good practices on marine renewables and the work that is being carried out under this Blue Economy and Blue Deal project. Thank you very much once again. I'm moving now to the next speaker, Simone Christie. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Kremlis, for this presentation. Thank you to the organizers for this invitation of SDSN Mediterranean. I am the network manager of SDSN Mediterranean, and I bring the greetings from Professor Angelo Riccaboni, which is the chair of the network. For those who don't know very well SDSN Mediterranean, a brief introduction. SDSN Mediterranean is a regional network of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, led by Professor Jeffrey Sachs of Columbia University. We are working since 2012 for spreading knowledge of the Agenda 2030 and boosting the impact of research, education, and cooperation projects in the Mediterranean regions. We have around 80 members of the network. Most of them are universities and research centers, but also some non-governmental organization and other kind of organization. I come to the questions that you raised, and I try to give an answer from my side. So as for the first question, which conclusion can be drawn about these activities and these results, I have to say that it's really interesting and impacting what we learned about this project and this phase of the project. I think that it's crucial for receiving support from the general public. It's crucial receiving support from this kind of public, since a transition, and in particular an energy transition, does not affect only technologies and public services, but we need to have on board all the people, the citizens, of the regions where we promote these kind of transitions. Of course, I think that there is the need of some more awareness. The results of the survey show that there is this kind of need of more awareness of all the benefits and the clear impacts, especially on economic activity. So the private sector needs to be taken on board because we think that they are relevant actors. Companies are relevant actors for an energy transition, and in particular in this very complex region as it is the Mediterranean region. What we are planning for the next future with blue energy. Together with Professor Bastianoni and the coordinators of this project, I'm glad to announce that we have started the procedures for adopting Blue Deal project as a flagship project of SDSN. What is flagship project? Is a project that as network we promote within our community, and we try to scale up also in other regions where we have an impact. So we have started the procedures for this flagship, and we are happy to update all of you about the adoption of this procedure within our network. As for the second question, yes, it's not my competence to decide about funding, but I hope yes, that the confirmation of this funding. I think that such relevant projects need to be funded and need to have resources in order to maximize the impact and the speed towards the complete adoption of such interesting and really useful tools for the renewable energies in the Mediterranean region. I'm at your disposal for any other kind of questions and reflections, and thank you again for this invitation. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Simone Christie, for your presentation. Indeed, we need more awareness, we need more involvement of the private sector, and I would say we need also private-public partnerships, which are important together with the private sector and the local authorities to promote these new technologies and eco-innovation, in particular when it comes to marine renewables and blue energy. And we would be grateful to you to be informed about your flagship projects and its next stages. As time is flying, I need to move to the next speaker, who is Mr. Nikolaos Theodosiou, UN SDSN Blue Growth Initiative. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kremlis. It's really nice to see you again. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me, and especially my good friends and colleagues at the University of Siena. I was really impressed by the results of the project. They are very interesting, and I'm sure that we can all make use of these results, and especially the results of the questionnaire. I think it's very important to involve citizens in such procedures. We need to avoid mistakes of the past regarding the installation of land renewable energy sources. We know that the problems that we have, especially with wind farms and solar panels, we need to look towards the sea and understand that the sea is our future. The sea was always our future. The sea, we are all very closely connected to the sea. Those of us who live in near the sea, we understand the importance of the sea. We saw this very interesting video at the beginning of this session about the connection and the relations, the bilateral relations to the sea. It's really something very important. I'm here on my as the chair of the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network for the wider area of the Black Sea. As Simone Christie mentioned in his remark, SDSN Mediterranean comprises the countries all around the Mediterranean, the North and South Mediterranean. Our network comprises 12 countries, most of the countries of the Balkans, all the countries all around the Black Sea, up to Azerbaijan in the Caspian. It's a huge network. They are both huge regional networks, SDSN Mediterranean and SDSN Black Sea. So it's really very important to have this approach, because our focus is on the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, of course, renewable energy, life below water, and many other SDGs are very closely related to the topic of the Blue Deal project. And we are really very happy to be here and be able to discuss with you about the results and how these results can be implemented and taken into consideration in future policies. Regarding the questionnaire, the results of the questionnaire, I was really impressed by the low number of people that are aware or concerned about climate change. Not so much about the low percentage, in some cases, not everywhere, who acknowledge the importance of the sea in energy production. I'm sure that everyone understands the power of the sea, the power of water, but not everyone can understand the means of exploitation of this energy that is already there in the sea. But I thought that more people will be aware by now about the impacts of climate change. And this is something we all need to work on, because if we want to make the change, if we want to have an impact, we all need to be together and work together in this direction. Now, as Simone said, we don't have the power of making any interventions in what projects will be funded in the coming calls. But to my understanding, blue energy should be one of the key factors in our quest for the energy transition. We need to invest more in blue energy, in energy coming from the sea or related to the sea. I think this is the future, and I'm sure that the Commission understands that and will emphasize on this resource. Just to bring in an example that could make people understand more about the potentials that we have from this very significant source, the sea. If you consider that many Mediterranean countries have water issues, and we all acknowledge that these issues will be more severe in the future due to the impacts of climate change. We always considered and we always looked for new water resources inland, because the cost of desalination, which was an option, was very high. Now, in the last decade or so, we had managed to advance the technology to reduce significantly the cost of desalination, and now the sea is a very important key factor for provision of water. This is the same approach that we need to have when looking at the sea for renewable energy. This is something very important. We need to improve the technology. We still have a long way to go in this direction, so we need to invest in this direction to have better results. And just a final remark, we are running an initiative which is supported by the United Nations. It's called Sustainable Euro-Asian Seas Initiative. It is run by our network, SDSN Black Sea, SDSN Greece, SDSN Mediterranean, and SDSN Europe. And we focus on connecting the 4 seas, the Mediterranean, the Black Sea, the Caspian, and the Aral Sea. Of course, this is a very different issue, but there are lessons that we can learn from the development of the Aral Sea. Within this initiative, which I say is supported by the United Nations, within this initiative, blue energy is a key factor. So we have a lot of things to learn, and a lot of connections that we can make between these seas, especially the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. And we can certainly expand the results and the outcomes of this very interesting project to other areas as well, especially the South Mediterranean area or the Black Sea, where our network is actively involved in many issues regarding the implementation of the SDGs. So we can work together and try to promote the results and the conclusions of this project to all these areas. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'm at your disposal if you have anything to discuss.
Thank you very much, Mr. Theodosiou, for sharing with us all these important pieces of information, your network, how we can promote this good practice within your network, create synergies, and of course, your reference to blue energy as a key vehicle to ensure the energy transition. This is what is at stake and what we need to promote. Without further ado, I need to move to the next speaker, Céline Franck, DG Mare, European Commission. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Kremlis, and good to be here. So I will try to be rather brief as well. About the results of the study, I found them very, very interesting as well. I think the fact that the knowledge is quite low, especially on the technologies, but that the perception is rather positive. It calls for 2 things. So the first one would be that we need to communicate more, especially about those technologies that are well known. I think people have quite an idea of what wind energy is. When we speak about wave and tidal, it's less evident. Since I work on the topic, I had to explain a lot to my families and friends what is it, how it works, and I think generally people are not very aware of that. Awareness on climate change, I think, is rising. it's not perfect, and we've seen that in some places it's still quite low. So also some communication to be done on that. But then I think generally people know that we need to find solutions, and they see that some of those solutions will happen at sea, and this becomes also quite clear to the public. So that's I think is positive, and it also echoes a previous study I remember that was done in the French coastal areas by Harris Interactive last year, and that showed that more than 3/4 of the people were in favor of offshore wind, and yet we see some projects that struggle also in France to being developed, and sometimes due to bad perceptions they can be slowed down. So this means that it can be very small groups of people that take actions, but generally the perception is good. So we have to play on that, and we have to reinforce the knowledge out there. Then I really enjoyed the discussion around islands. Very good that many islands were included in the survey, and many mayors came to speak today. The example of Halki Island, I think, is very good to see that there is forward thinking, and the development of wave energy technologies is already taken up there, also via the participation into Horizon 2020 projects. So yeah, it's clear that ocean energy, it represents huge opportunity for the decarbonization of islands and for the autonomy. So we are really hoping that islands will take that up and develop quickly those technologies, and help developers that are. I want to remind that Europe it really has the lead on these technologies, and that's something we want to keep and to develop. There's a need to develop also the whole value chain, and this was highlighted in the offshore renewable energy strategy that the Commission issued last year. So then on the fundings, I think the political support is there. We've heard from Ms. Salazar on the Union for the Mediterranean Declaration. So member states are on board. Now what we need to see is clear commitment. I think the national energy and climate plans were mentioned already. We want to see those commitments there in numbers of gigawatts as well, because now we have a global target for the EU. This needs to be broken down by sea basin and by each member state. We know that for the moment, offshore renewables are mostly developed in the North Sea and the Baltic, but there is a huge potential in the Mediterranean Sea as well, and in the Black Sea too. So we need to move quite fast in those sea basins to reach our ambitions, and we are there to help. I think there is a lot of funding available already, and there will be more under Horizon Europe, under the Innovation Fund, Interreg. Well, there are also more and more interest in all Interreg projects in blue energy. At DG Mare, we manage the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Funds. There will be more in there. Personally, I work on maritime spatial planning, so we see maritime spatial planning really as an enabler for these developments to happen. As you might know, the Maritime Spatial Planning Directive has reached first year of implementation, meaning that all member states should have a plan of what's going to happen in their seas in the coming years. And a majority of member states do have a plan now, so it also puts Europe as a global leader on maritime spatial planning. We have seen a bit of delays in the Mediterranean, but we really hope to get a good planning available quite soon for all our member states. And we continue to support this work with the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund. And then finally, you asked if we're planning specific recommendations, documents in the coming months. Well, you might be aware that the Renewable Energy Directive is being revised at the moment, and there are quite a lot of simplification measures that will be introduced there. And on the side of that, we're also preparing specific guidelines on permitting procedures. I know this was pointed out by several speakers as an issue in several member states. So we hope these guidelines will help to simplify at national level. There are general guidelines for all renewables, but there might be specific recommendations for offshore renewables as well. There are already guidelines on the integration of offshore wind within protected areas, for example. So this was published together with our strategy on offshore renewables. And it's something we plan to do more as well, to see more in the future integration of nature protection within offshore renewable farms. And finally, I just want to mention the strategic energy technology plans, which also provide a lot of recommendations. There is one specific on ocean energy, the Ocean Set. And at the moment, they are working on a report on de-risking and insurance schemes for the sector, especially for new technologies in wave and tidal energy, notably. That still needs more support, let's say, to reach the commercial stage and be taken up at the level where they can be connected to the grid and produce energy for citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Frank, for first of all for your support to this project, and secondly for giving us all this background and information from the European Commission side, all the ongoing and upcoming initiatives, and of course maritime spatial planning is extremely important. There are delays indeed, but it is very important that the maritime spatial plans take on board the blue energy projects. This is a unique opportunity also to label them as blue energy projects, be it offshore wind farms, be it tide energy, or other types of energy that can be promoted on the islands and in the marine environment. So thank you for that. We will keep in touch. I would like now to give the floor to the last but not least speaker, Curcio Cervelli from the Interreg Med. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening to all of you. As you already said, everything has been said, so I just try to summarize a little bit my impression about the progress of the project and the main results. I think that what is much more important in the conclusion of this day is that we need to cooperate all together. We cannot solve problems without cooperating. So you gathered different actors in this meeting. The same we have used to be closed in our activities in order to experiment also new ways of cooperation in the present state of the art and the future. So as you already know, probably last week we launched our new program in Lisbon, and we were more representatives of European institutions, strategies, programs, and countries. So what is important today for me is the fact that you were able to be in touch, to reach local authorities, municipalities in particular. It means also citizens. It's important that they are aware about your and our progress in this current situation. Once more, it's important to be concrete, to consolidate your result. Your questions about the capacity and the possibility to continue to co-finance those activities, it will depend also on the results of this project of your horizontal community and your capacity in particular to transfer all results towards the future, adapting them to the new framework, to the new context. Caterina Pratico said that previously. Maybe you will not be able to continue to work within the Interreg Euromed. I don't know. It depends on your results and on our terms of references for the future. But this is not important. What is important that you can continue to work full stop and take advantage of the European contributions or the national contribution or the regional ones in order to contribute to the common effort that we are providing all together in the Mediterranean area. So for me, it's not important the label you can have in the future, but the fact that you will have the opportunity to progress on your way and to contribute to the solution. So this is why you need to check previously what is the more adapted program or contribution you can receive, maybe NextMed, maybe Euromed, maybe Horizon Europe, maybe other programs, thematic programs co-financed by the European Union directly. So this is what we are expecting from all of you in the future, not to try to continue the implementation of your project, of your idea in only one program or only one way, but to consider, to take into account the whole possibilities you can have in order to speed up your actions. So this is also my answer to the possibility to continue to co-finance your activities. Of course, even within our program, but maybe not in a so direct way. For instance, many islands representatives were involved in this meeting. Probably you already know that islands, territories will be a specific focus of our program in the future. For the moment, we are not aware exactly in which way, but you can consider the fact that maybe you will be able to develop your activities not necessarily in a direct way as blue energy, but as a tool to improve capacity of islands, territories to answer to their challenges. This is one possibility for the future as well. So there will be maybe direct priorities, direct specific objectives you will be able to improve, or maybe you will have to consider specific territories to increase what has already been done in this programming period. What is important at last, and you will have 1 year more under the envelope of your horizontal community, is to consolidate and to focus really the best results you can have by the end of this programming period, in order to be able to capture the best results and to capitalize on that starting from the beginning of the next programming period. So my message, my suggestion is not to lose time thinking too much on the future, because the present is not still finished. So you can have much more opportunity to take advantage of a new programming period if you will realize and consolidate and transfer your current results, preparing them to be immediately transferred to the right stakeholders, right decision makers. So I think I can stop here, and I wish you good work and a nice evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cervelli, for your considerations, for your pieces of advice. It is important to broaden the picture, to broaden the audience, the stakeholders, to substantiate more, to continue working, and of course, see all the possibilities that will be open, including the importance that the islands are taking in this period of climate crisis, as they are affected at the first place. And this project is one that in reality will boost the decarbonization, the energy transition, and the climate resilience of the islands. Before giving the floor to Professor Bastianoni to share with us the final conclusions of this round table, I would like to share with you a few considerations. I think that the results of this project and of the questionnaire have been highly appreciated by you all. The replicability issue is extremely important, as we need and we can replicate, and this constitutes a best practice. It is extremely important to put this blue economy as a key pillar of the blue economy, blue energy or renewable marine energies, in context with the circular economy as a key priority of the European Union, and with the digital economy, as the digital economy is there to serve all the needs and the other policies. It is extremely important, and this has been highlighted by all, to involve the civil society, to raise awareness. We need training, we need education for the citizens to understand that to tackle the climate crisis, we need to change our consumption and production patterns as citizens, as communities, to reduce our environmental, climate, and energy footprint. And in that respect, through this awareness, we will be able to develop more renewables and more blue energy, not only on the islands that are more vulnerable to climate change, but also on the coastal areas. And this will create social acceptance conditions that are extremely important. I do believe, and this has been made as a point by several others, that a blue energy framework is needed. And now we have the opportunity through Fit for 55, through the climate laws that are being developed in our countries, to promote such a blue energy framework with a particular dimension when it comes to the islands. The desalination element has been raised. It is important to link it with blue energy and with green energy, as desalination and water can enable us to produce in the future hydrogen, and hydrogen can become an important green energy source for the decarbonization of the islands. On Euromed, there has been a discussion. This is a framework where these key ideas need to be developed, and the puzzle needs to be presented in a comprehensive way. The European Commission has also referred to the eligibility of all these projects. They are key for the energy transition and carbon neutrality. National energy and climate plans, they need to be adopted, and all this discussion that we just have needs to be reflected there, as these will be the updates of what has been done up to now. Maritime spatial planning, extremely important to develop blue energy projects in that respect. And of course, last but not least, as Fit for 55 is still ongoing, it is important in the lobbying and in the contacts that we have with our capitals and our ministries to convey the right messages. Last but not least, and I conclude with this, we are now under the dialogue on the conference on the future of Europe. This is a very important forum for the whole civil society of the European Union, and projects as this one, where the stakeholders are strongly involved, are important also to share their findings and messages in the context of the dialogue on the future of Europe, to boost the insularity, the problems that islands and coastal areas are facing more because of climate change, and the need to have a climate vulnerability and a stronger chapter on climate and energy present in the new treaty, if hopefully this dialogue on the future of Europe leads to a revision of our treaties. Thank you very much to all the speakers, the prominent speakers, for their contributions. Thank you very much again to Professor Bastianoni and to Professor Betti. And I would like now to give the floor to Professor Bastianoni for the concluding remarks. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all the best in the future steps of this important project.
Thank you, Mr. Kremlis, for your very nice word and for the perfect management of this afternoon. A bit longer than we planned, but I think that the arguments were important, interesting enough to have 15 minutes more in our schedule. I think that Professor Betti want to add something before the conclusions. In the meanwhile, I ask our partners from Enea and from Indaco 2 coming here to say, to wave to all the other partners.
Yes, just 1 minute because it's already late. I thank very much all the speakers of the round table, please. And in particular, I would like to say something concerned to the intervention of the mayor of Pobla de Farnals. In fact, he said that the interviewed people were not only citizens, and this is true. Our goal was really to interview tourists as well, and also owners of the second or holiday houses. And in fact, with the the sampling scheme that we proposed with Francesca Gagliardi as well, with this systematic sampling, we were able to interview also tourists. Of course, in proportion with the proportion of tourists in the population in that period. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gianni. So I think if there is nothing from our partners that want, if some of our partners want to say something, to comment, they are welcome to do so. Voye, Carmen, and I don't know who else is on board at this moment. Okay, so I will try to give some conclusions about this this afternoon. Well, I have to say, first of all, thanks really a lot for the compliments that you gave us in different forms. And I think that we have done an effort, and this effort is really was maybe more successful than we planned at the beginning, I have to say. So the results were such that made us think that it's really something like this is really needed if we are serious in willing to change our energy platform. If we want to be carbon neutral by 2050, I believe that, for example, blue economy should start avoiding the part that deals with the drilling for new gas or oil, for example, that and divert the attention to blue energy for it in this sense. I think that yes, this kind of effort is also very important because it gives more attention and more information to the population. This is the very important message that I've got from all of you. This information and this involvement of citizens, I want to insist on this, has to lead also to the involvement of citizens in the properties of blue energies, towards energy communities that involve citizens, in order to avoid they push the brake when they see someone else invading their territories. And this is something that is a key element in speeding up the procedures also, as was said before, the procedures for the instructions of the implementation of these devices in reality. So, well, I don't know if I understood correctly something that Curzio Cervelli was saying in the last comments. We are really feel really comfortable and within the Interreg Med realm. It's, in my opinion, and it's not because Curzio Cervelli is here, but I answered this way in the questionnaire that you sent me less than a year ago. I think that Interreg is the best program in which I've project in this moment and before. So, I mean, as obvious that there can be limitations, struggling for some bureaucratic stuff, etc. But that's everywhere and in anything. So it's nothing relevant. So we really like instead the Interreg approach in the in the fact that we have to be concrete, that we have to be practical, and we have to be to involve all the actors in our projects, because this is the key to success. And so we like very much to give this example as a heritage. We will have to hold this portal open for 5 years at least. We hope that the administrations and networks that we have joined us today will help us spread the voice of these questionnaires and approach in their communities, so that someone else can call us and say, oh, why don't you come to our place and do the same? And we will add another dot in the map. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much for your participation. Have a good day, and for the Italians, have a good holiday tomorrow. Ciao.